Hello, friend. Welcome to the Peace on Earth program. I am your host, Marillis Hughes, bringing you hope and comfort with the heart of a mother's love. And I'm assisted by Mr. Tad Culkin, who's in charge of technical production. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Today, we're going to look at Psalm 91. It's anonymous. We don't know who wrote it, but it shows God is a refuge and a fortress. In the whole collection of Psalms, there is not a more cheering psalm. Its tone is elevated and sustained throughout, and faith is at its best and speaks nobly. It is one of the most excellent works of this kind which has ever appeared. It is impossible to imagine anything more solid, more beautiful, more profound, or more ornamented. This was written by Mr. Charles Spurgeon many, many years ago. Psalm 91 verses 1 to 2 begin, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust." We have the assurance of God's protection, comfort, and care of Yahweh. The word is security. He who dwells in the secret place for his own. And in Psalm 27, verse 5, David writes, "For in times of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock." David has complete confidence and trust in God. And again in Psalm 31, verse 20, David declares, "You shall hide them in the secret place from the plots of man, and you shall keep them secretly in a shelter from the strife of tongues." In Psalm 90, written by Moses, he spoke of God as the dwelling place of his people. In Psalm 91, the opening lines seem to take the idea further. "I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust." Every child of God looks towards the sanctuary and the mercy seat, yet all do not dwell or live there in the most holy place. They run to it at times, enjoy occasional approaches, but do not continually reside in his mysterious presence. And we look at verse 6, and from the perilous pestilence, verse 6, God protects his people in times of plague and disease. This does not mean that those who trust in God will never die of infectious diseases or suffer from an enemy's plot. It means that those who trust in God are often habitually delivered from such dangers. Children of God are not always immune from physical plague and pestilence, but they are ever guarded from destructive spiritual forces as they dwell in the secret place of the Most High. Consider this terrible pandemic of COVID. How many heroes have died in the medical field while trying to save the lives of others? And in verse 4, he says, "He shall cover you with his feathers." Here God is likened to a bird sheltering chicks under his wings, as David described earlier in Psalm 61, verse 4. The mother eagle spreading her wings over her eaglets is a wonderful symbol of the union of power and gentleness. Remember, Jesus in Matthew 23, verse 37, would have saved and sheltered Jerusalem and its inhabitants. But the people were not willing. They would not come to him. They would not dwell in the shelter of the Most High. Instead, they cried out for his crucifixion instead. In verse 4, it says, his truth shall be your shield and buckler. The picture of protection continues with his truth, represented as the smaller, often round shield, and the larger, often rectangular shield, the buckler. The person who has double armor relies on the Lord. He bears a shield and wears an all-surrounding coat of mail, total protection. The result of God's protection in verses 5 and 6, you shall not be afraid. The term, the shadow of the Almighty, is an expression which implies great nearness. We must walk very close to a companion if we would have his shadow fall on us. The term shadow is suggested in 4 ways. The shadow of the rock in Isaiah 32, verse 2. The shadow of the tree, the Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 3. The shadow of his wings, verse 7. The shadow of his hand, Isaiah chapter 49, verse 2. The first 2 verses of Psalm 91 have a wonderful titles or names for God. Most High, Elyon. Almighty, Shaddai. The Lord, Yahweh. My God, Elyoeh. Verse 2, he is my refuge and fortress. Have you ever said definitely, O Lord, you are my refuge? Have you sheltered in him from the windy storm, from the arrow by day, the pestilence by night, from man and the devil? You must vow it, not only think it, but say it. And the fowler in verse 3, God shows us specific ways God protects and cares for his people, beginning with the rescue from those who would trap God's people as the fowler snares birds. The devil and his agents often work as the fowler works. The fowler works in secret. The fowler changes his traps and methods. The fowler entices or lures with pleasure or profit. The fowler uses a bad example, a decoy. And when we look at verse 5, we're told, you shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor for the destruction waste at noonday. Now, when it says you're not to be afraid of the terror by night, often in those times it meant robbers. Or the arrow that flies by day, we're talking about warfare. And when we're looking at the destruction that lays waste at the noonday, that could mean also sunstroke. And in continuing concerning the idea and the thought of not being afraid, having God as a shelter and refuge gives strength and courage to the people of God. When God's people are stuck in fear, they fall short of proper trust in God as a protector and comforter. Not to be afraid is a blessing. For every suffering we endure from real injury, we are tormented by 1,000 griefs which arise from fear only. In this life, the Lord may permit many terrible things to happen to his children, such as Job, as he did to his own dear son, our Lord. But his children know that no power is out of God's control. In verses 7 to 8, 1,000 shall fall by your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. The man beloved of the Lord, even the most crushing calamities, can only shorten his journey and hasten his reward. Losses enrich him. Sickness is his medicine. Reproach his house, and death his gain. No evil can happen to him, for everything is overruled for his good. Our God is a good God. And verses 9 to 13, the assurance repeated twice over is promising deliverance and assurance of the victor. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place, no evil shall befall you, nor any plague come near your dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. I would like to comment on the verse that says, for he shall give his angels charge over you, and give a personal testimony. I remember as a child of about 12 years of age vividly the account I'm about to tell you. My family lived in Gothenburg, or as it's pronounced by the Swedes, Göteborg, in Sweden at the time. My father paid for riding lessons in the middle of the cold winter snow. The horses got very frisky and hard to handle outdoors. So it was decided that the class I attended would ride indoors on a large circular ring where the riding master would call out instructions to the horses and the riders. My thoroughbred horse was very nervous and high-strung, and therefore difficult to ride. And his name was Hassan. I remember to this day, Hassan. I suddenly found when we were doing an exercise on top of the horse that my saddle had slipped below the horse's belly. I could not hang on, and so decided to let go, fearing the worst. It now remained for Hassan to trample me underfoot, along with the horses following behind. But to my amazement, even to this day, I remain astonished because not one hoof harmed me. I just rolled over sideways to safety. Surely God had his angels protect and care for me that day. Victory. In verses 14 to 16, God promises to and gives his blessing over the ones that love him. These verses are the key and answer. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. Because He has set his love upon me. God speaks in the first person and blessing on his people. This is spoken to God's people. To set one's love upon God means to do it by choice. He does not wait for the feeling of love to come, but for his people to act in ways towards God to build love. Those would include spending time with God, listening to God, reading what God has written to us, speaking to God, thinking of him, adoring him, speaking of God to others, giving glad sacrifices to and for him. Therefore, verse 14, I will deliver him. God will protect his beloved and set him on high because he has known my name, having a real relationship with God. I will set him on high, meaning I will place him out of reach of all his enemies. I will honor and enable because he has known my name, because he has loved, served, honored, and given me worship. Verse 15, he shall call upon me, and I will answer him. God promises to answer the prayer of the one who loves him and genuinely knows him. I will be with him. The last lines of the psalm, God spoke the personal and wonderful blessings over the one who loves and knows him. The blessings of his presence. I will be with him in trouble. The blessings of his protection. I will honor him. The blessings of his prosperity. With long life will I satisfy him. The blessings of his preservation and show him my salvation. When God says, I will be with him, no man needs to feel alone because he may have God sitting with him like Job's friends, waiting to comfort him with true comfort. When God says, I will be with him in trouble, meaning I will watch over you like a child myself, personally, because I love you. This has been your host, Marilys Hughes, saying, thank you so much for listening, and God bless you. Please subscribe to my channel and click on the notifications bell so that you will be alerted to our future programs. My email address is peaceonearthinchrist@gmail.com. My contact, my name is Marilys Hughes. And there's also a link given. Thank you.